Hi, this is Professor Ravito back again, and we're working on the skills needed for hands-on exercise 4. Now, as you can see in hands-on exercise 3, we put in all of the formulas, and in hands-on 2, we put in all the formulas, and hands-on 3, we made some changes within the spreadsheet. So now what we're going to do is we're going to format it. And the first thing we're going to do, this is okay over here, but it would look much better if it were centered over this sheet. So what we're going to do is highlight. Remember, if we're going to highlight, we need the white cross all the way across to G, and then we're going to do merge and center. This centers your title over a set of columns that you define. We're also going to make the heading bigger, and we're going to make it bold. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we centered it horizontally. Now we're going to center it vertically. So now it's centered within the space. We're going to do the same thing with the subheading, and we're going to make it bold, and we're going to make it slightly smaller, 12 point. And the same thing with Riverside Park. Now, if I take that, and this is what I just did, and I click on the brush up here, that's the Format Painter, and it automatically does it for me. Okay? Alright, so now, the, okay, hang on, gotta go to the next one. We're going to wrap. Okay, and we're going to wrap the text, and we're going to center it. All right, wrapping the text puts anything that doesn't fit within one column on two lines in that column. It's not good for things like the column or the row headings over here. It's excellent for the column headings. We are going to bold it. And I centered all this. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to apply number formats. So I'm going to start in C8 and go down to C12, and I'm going to put in the accounting number format. Now, there's lots of different ways to do this, but if I come up here and I find accounting, you'll see that what accounting does is put a $ and a comma in. So I put on a comma and 2 decimals. So there we are. We have that. Right. Then I'm going to use the Format Painter to paint it like that. Just that easily, my spreadsheet looks a whole lot better. I'm going to apply a color behind here because it makes it easier to use. Again, first thing I have to do is I have to highlight it, and then I'm going to apply purple. Now, anytime they give you colors, when you're working across here on colors, this is purple accent 4, okay? Now, if I come down here, notice it says purple 8 accent 4 80 lighter 80%. You need to pay attention to exactly what color it tells you to use. In this case, it's telling me to use purple accent 4 lighter 60%. There it is right there. All right. And then I'm going to put a thick box border. I'm sorry. All right, I did exactly what some of you are going to do. I applied that to the font, and when I do that, the A is the font color, the bucket is the back fill color, okay, and I wanted it on the fill color, so I'm going to undo that, and now I'm going to go in and I'm going to find purple lighter 60% and put it on the background color. Remember, Control Z is our friend. All right, now Since all of these are Dyer Chevrolet, I'm going to highlight these two and I'm going to indent them. I can indent them by coming up to this button and it says increase indent, and it moves it over just enough to let you know that they're all Dyer Chevrolet. I need to come back up here because I forgot when I messed up the other thing, I forgot to do the border. So I highlight it and I'm going to apply a thick box border. Notice that it tells you what kind of border you're looking at. Pay attention to your instructions. You've got to apply the correct border for the instructions. And there we are. Okay. Now, this is very nicely done. The only other thing I want to do here is I want to change that date format. So I'm going to click number, the little arrow there, and there's my date, and I'm going to come down here until it says 14 March 01. Now, some students get confused because the date that I've got in there is May 30th. This 14 March 01 is simply showing you what it will look like. So when I click on that, notice that the sample, that is what I'm formatting, says 30 May 13, and that's what I want. So I'm going to click on it. There we go. Okay, now we're going to set this page up for printing, and one thing I want to tell you, you never have to print anything out for me. You need to go through the steps for the printing. But I will check using Print Preview, and if I'm not sure, I will go ahead and print it out myself. You never have to hand in any printed work here. When you're using My IT Lab and you hit print, nothing prints. It just registers that you did know how to do it. Now, I forgot to do something very important at the beginning. I forgot to rename this sheet. If I hit save right now, it's going to overwrite the HO3 sheet, and that's not what we want to do. So I'm going to come over here right now and I'm going to do File, Save As, 4. Because you have to have all of the files for all of the hands-on exercises in order to get credit for it. Okay. So let's talk about page setup and orientation. When I look at page setup, all right, I can change my orientation from, it's being very slow, from landscape, from portrait to landscape. All right, portrait means it's longer and narrower. Landscape means it's wider, it's shorter and wider. And we're going to change this to landscape. Now it makes, why is OneNote not available? Okay, there we go. Okay, I don't know why it gave me that error, but you can't set up for a printer unless you have a, you can't set up to print unless you have a printer installed. And that was simply telling me that my current installation was no good. Okay. Now, I'm going to set my margins, and I'm going to set my margins to a custom margin. All right. And what I want is I want a 1-inch top, oops, and a 1-inch bottom. And then the right and the left we're going to leave alone. Okay. Now, we made that do that so that we can put in a header. In order to make it look a little bit nicer, we're going to go back to the Margins tab, and we're going to center it horizontally on the page. Now it looks much better when we go to print it. Okay, so a header and a printer, sorry, reading ahead, a header and a footer. A header appears one time at the top of every page. A footer appears one time at the bottom of every page. So you watch what you put on there. All right, so we're going to click Insert, and we're going to do Header Footer over here. All right. And there are 3 sections in the header. In the leftmost section, I'm going to put CPT 170 section I01. In the middle section, I'm going to insert the sheet name, and you get that off of this right here. And then in the end section, I'm going to put in the current date. Okay? Then we're going to return the view to normal. Okay. Going to return back to normal view. Give me a minute here. See, sometimes even instructors don't remember how to do everything. View. Okay. Alright, not funny, guys. Can't remember how to close this. Alright, there we go. I double clicked and came down here, and now I'm seeing my header up there. Alright. I was looking for a close button because in Word it has a close header footer. Alright, so then we can click File, and when we go to Print, we'll see the print preview right here. Notice that it looks very nice. It's done exactly what we wanted it to do. Right. So I'm going to save the document, which I can do. And that's the end of the hands-on exercises in Chapter 1. Now, the skills I've shown you are the ones you're going to need to complete those exercises. You will not be working with the same document. What I work with is something that is given to us that will cover the exact same material, but does not have the same data in it. Okay. The next video for you, and I'll probably do it tomorrow since it's getting late, is going to be the one on how do we work with my IT lab, starting at the very beginning. So once you've finished all your exercises, then you're going to close it. And the next video will show you how to upload these into my IT lab, and then where do you go from here. Till then, bye-bye.